Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Strategic Frontlines, Close official YouTube channel. Today, we are joined by Dr. Nithiyanandam and Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, DG Close. Dr. Nithiyanandam is a professor and head of Geopolitical Research Program at Takshashila Institution. He's a leading expert in geospatial intelligence. He authors the Takshashila Geospatial Bulletin, and he's an alumnus of Hong Kong Polytechnic University. He has engaged with leading institutions applying geospatial technology across transdisciplinary fields. And we have Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh. He is Director General of Center for Land Warfare Studies and the author of the book Grey Zone Warfare, Way Ahead for India. Today, we will be discussing China's hydropower projects on Yarlung Tsangpo, or Brahmaputra as we call it in India. We'll be discussing its implication for India's water security, particularly the northeastern states, its environmental and ecological risk of large-scale damming, the geopolitical and strategic dimension of river disputes. So, as we know, on 19th of July, Chinese Premier Li Qiang attended the groundbreaking ceremony of the dam. So, Dr. Nithiyanandam, to start with, please tell us something about the mega dam project and what makes it so costly that its cost is $167 billion.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Anshuman, and it's my pleasure to join here. And thank you so much, General Dushyant sir, to have me here. To begin with, the story of mega dam building closest to India's international border is not something new, right? We have been hearing this for a very long time. But the only difference, what we are seeing day by day, or probably year by year, is like the announcement made that the dam will be built in one of a 5-year plan, the last 5-year plan. Thereafter, there is a declaration on the fund which is allocated for it. And what in recent in the last week is about a groundbreaking ceremony and setting up a company for constructing the dam, which is as per the document it is state financed also. Now this is a stage where we are in the dam construction. China has announced it few years ago and then aspired to build this on Yarlung Tsangpo closer to our vicinity. Today we are seeing this as a possibility. They are moving inch closer towards building a dam. It is one of the largest dam in terms of capacity. It is 3 times the capacity of existing world largest dam. That is 3 Gorges Dam, right? So that is around 20,000 megawatt, and what we are expecting is around 60,000 megawatt. That's how China says. That is one side on the capacity. And the importance and implications to us on the being a downstream nation over here is because when a dam is built, it can impact many ways, not just the flow, and it can impact the quantum of water which is coming towards the downstream. I'm not getting into an argument of how much it is impacting and what kind of environmental impacts it can lead to, but there is an impact, right, to begin with. And then it also provides an opportunity to an upstream country to disrupt its natural flow, be it a seasonal flow or be it a regular periodic flows. Those can be altered or it can be adjusted if they have a control over the system. But the flip side of it, people can still argue this dam is going to be in an area where the controlling is not possible. I'm not talking about the fag end of the dam. That's a mega dam which we are expecting at Medong County. The controlling happened systematically in the previous part of the Yarlung Tsangpo. That is much before the U-bend. So this is what we know so far. And the land clearing process and things are not evident in many of the data sets. What we do not know is where it is going to come, right? Where exactly it is going to come.
Yes. We are not sure where it is coming and where it will be built in entirety, but we see the area and the geography is not that good for building a dam. So, what are the particular engineering challenges that China would face in constructing a dam of such scale in such a place?
Right. So this dam is likely not a similar dam that we have seen in Three Gorges, right? It's a very big reservoir, and few manipulates by thinking like, if it is three size of Three Gorges dam, the reservoir and the construction would be similarly bigger. But that is not the case. This could be of different technology, given the possibility. The difference between the existing world largest dam and this, I could see the opportunity here is it has a huge gradient of over 2000 meters of elevation drop. So that is because it passes through the world largest, canyon. I can present it from this. I can show it in a slideshow later on, but it is passing through the deepest canyon in the world, one of the deepest canyon in the world. Because of that, it gives us the energy that it can provide, and basically it helps to produce more electricity in a different form of technology, not just based on reservoir. Of course, there need to be a reservoir to control it and to make the dam functional. But other than that, um, this the exact area is not known so far, but we are speculating it in a way like it can come anywhere between the U bend or just before the U bend, and to get that 60,000 megawatt, it is expected somewhere after the U bend and till the fag end of the Medong County. Now the terrain is so rugged, and naturally it creates opportunity, but also it creates an engineering challenge for them. If they can do it, I once said it's an engineering marvel. China could able to achieve it if they could able to construct and control the dam over here, and that too in a place where it is environmentally fragile, disaster prone. Especially we have seen landslides on an Indian part thereafter the U-bend, more of earthquakes, and it cuts across especially the U-bend cuts across the fault line which exists naturally. So it is very risk, not only the post-construction, during the construction also.
Yeah. So you talk about natural disasters, earthquake, landslides. We know that it's a active seismic area.
Yeah.
Leave alone it's a building challenge. What after the dam is built and there are earthquakes, so they will be forced to release water. So what will be the impact on India or the lower riparian rates of them?
So regarding the water flow,
Yeah.
see, probably if China has a right to construct dam over there, right? So it will impact us, but not exactly what quantum it will impact us on the ground, because unless we know what kind of exact dam is coming and what is the project is all about, is there any diversion prospect exist, then we can say. But then according to the terrain and the possibilities over there, deviating it, like moving from a different direction, diverting it to a different direction is completely we can rule out for now, looking at the terrain in 3 dimensions and the possibility of channeling it through neighboring rivers. But what we have seen in other areas, how China has behaved as a upstream nation and its responsibility, which failed to deliver it in Mekong and other areas. What we could see is the data sets were never shared as promised in the beginning of a project, and also the downstream suffers because when there is a natural flow of water through a river system, the farmers, the ecosystem that includes small fishes and other the organisms which are associated with the river systems and natural course, if you alter it, let's say if you expect a flood in summer, that was not expected on ground, right? At those circumstances, it will change the challenges. Though the flow may be slow, that's an irrelevant question of how much flow it will impact, but it will divert or it will change the ecosystem. It will alter the ecosystem which the downstream has to face, where we are the takers, not the the one which is creating a problem. Here, for no reasons, we are creating a problem just because it is part of their region, and then if they are building dam at their area, The biggest challenge is building it in a very close vicinity to India's border. And that too, the entire toll is on the downstream and the benefit is for the upstream. That's a challenge.
So you talked about China's data sharing and how it will have the impact on downstream. So China is not a signatory to any international water sharing agreement. And recently, the Arunachal CM gave a statement that this dam can be a water bomb for India, as it will adversely impact the Siang belt of Arunachal.
Right.
Say during flood time, or there's more water than it can handle, they release the water. So how much of an adverse impact can it have on us?
See, I don't want to create any speculation, but then we should prepare it for a scenario where the dam comes in and then we should only look for an alternative here. So we have to prepare ourselves for the construction stage. We have to prepare ourselves for the execution stage also. Like this, during the construction stage, the kind of impact that we can envisage is completely different. I'm ruling out, if we keep the disaster as a separate subject, but then the construction itself can cause a lot of impact on the downstream river, right? That cannot be avoided. One. So when the construction completes, there's a different set of challenges. So there are two broad challenges the downstream can face, and it of course a bomb if the intention is to use it as a weapon. So if the intention is to mutually work along with the downstream country and then taking their consensus on board, then the dam can be built in a different way, right? But right now it is not. It gets kept as a surprise, except a couple of promises saying, it won't be impacting downstream, it won't be regulating downstream flows, and so on. But how it is feasible to construct something without impacting the downstream, right? That to a project at this massive scale.
So how you said that we have to be ready for both the challenges during the construction phase and after the dam is built. So how can we be ready? So what are some steps that we can take? Should it be building more dams, or damming the upper Siang and lower Siang belt? What do you suggest?
See, two quick things. One is obviously we need to have a counter dam at a suitable place, which can withstand the impact immediately without proliferating into further downstream areas. One. That can also help us to manage the impact by storing water and then releasing at a time which is required. But another important aspect that we also need to look at is an alternative for the flash flood scenarios, because the downstream is already prone to floods. So how we can find an alternative, perhaps building more check dams, but then the topography is not feasible to experiment many things. So we need to find a technology to minimize the impact, reducing its flows. If possible, we need to plan for relocation of certain critical infrastructures also. There are many things that we need to look at. That requires a systematic study, not a spontaneous question that I can answer it and then to speculate it. I really need to conduct it as a scientific study to understand every bit of it and possibilities. By understanding the flow, both quantum and the speed will, along with the topographic analysis, can able to bring out the answer.
So my next question is to both the General Dushyant and you. How does China's potential control of the headwaters can create leverages for China against us?
Sir, after you.
Well, you want me to go or Nithya to go?
Sir, you can go first.
Okay, so first of all, I tend to agree with most of the issues which Professor Nithiyanand has raised regarding this particular dam. But since I am from the military, I would like to raise issues which are more concerning the security aspects. Now, when we talk of security, we are not just talking of the military security. The security encompasses environmental security. Security encompasses social security. Security encompasses livelihoodness of the area in which essentially the Adi tribe of Arunachal is what is going to get affected. It's a major tribe and it has got a lot of presence in the Siang belt. So then there are issues related to geopolitical security, because you see what happens when you control as an upper riparian state, you can hinder or even military operations. If something is taking place and an odd bridge gets blown off because of the flow of water going down, uh, further down, I'm not even saying right up the areas where fighting is taking place, you'll find that today the sense of depth of battlefield has taken a topsy-turvy turn, in the sense there is no depth left as far as the modern day battlefield is concerned. People are striking deep into our territories. They will first target all these infrastructures. So the best way to do so is be in the gray zone. And China has been always following a very smart tactics of doing everything in the gray zone. Whether it is South China Sea, you would have found, they will use sea, they will use laws, they will use cartographic aggressions, whole lot of things to actually lay their claims or meet their sovereign ends. So they will try a similar kind of a thing as far as this particular initiative of China is concerned. One thing is that they basically want to divert the water of Brahmaputra for one major reason. Overtly, they have said, okay, power, but they already have over 1 lakh dams and reservoirs in that country. So really speaking, there was no need for hydroelectric power for being for this dam, in my opinion. And especially, the kind of challenge which they will have to face from of transferring this power from here back into the mainland. You must realize that, wherever these dams are made, the local public normally doesn't benefit, whereas it is touting it as a boon for Tibetan people. Look at what they have done in Pakistan. They have constructed huge dams along the CPEC. But where is the power going? Power is going to either mainland Pakistan, or it is going to China. So what the people of POJK and the Gilgit-Baltistan area are not getting any benefit. In fact, they're getting costly electricity. So I doubt the sincerity also of the Chinese, based on our past experience. They have uh, ignored bilateral agreements. They have ignored standing peace and tranquility arrangements between the two countries. First, on the occasion of Dokulam, after we took some strict action against them, they stopped sharing data. Whereas I actually was part of the management of the Dokulam security situation, along with the army commander who was there, and I was his number two. So we were looking at the whole thing very closely, and we realized that the Chinese really didn't have any reason whatsoever to hit back as far as sharing of data of Brahmaputra is concerned. And now they are crying hoarse once we have taken some genuine measures on the IWT as far as Pakistan is concerned. Every day there are some odd videos coming out that maybe it is a response to that kind of a move which we have done, that they are trying to do this thing in our on our eastern flank. So there are a whole lot of geopolitical issues which they will try to leverage. And you may be right, or the public may be right, that it's probably also going to be used as a water bomb. Look at Mekong. Look at the Mekong project. Mekong project has 12 dams, and virtually the downstream countries have bought it. They are having huge problems of resettlement, food security, water availability. Whole lot of things are there, and the same kind of problem we will face in case they choke the water which comes into our territory, into the Brahmaputra, the main area. Actually, you would realize that there are three major trajectories which finally converge at Sadia, where these three trajectory meet and Brahmaputra starts. Technically, further up, it is Tsangpo, Lohit, and one more. I'm forgetting the name. So these three tributaries come down, meet at Sadia, and then become Brahmaputra. So we will probably not have any issues of water beyond Sadia, but short of Sadia, wherever these streams are coming down, if the water is choked, the local population of that area will get affected. Besides environmental issues, earthquakes and what have you, or fragile terrain is there. So, in my view, this is a very, very kind of a retrograde step taken by China, especially for the lower riparian states. But I also take this as an opportunity, right? And what is that opportunity? Opportunity is that counter. What kind of countermeasures can we do? Can we tap the tributaries which are coming into the Yarlung Tsangpo in our side, to fill up the water required by streamlining them, by channeling them? So these small tributaries, we were allowing them to flow. I mean, without any kind of a plan. We could make a plan whereby maximum of water is being trapped as far as we are concerned for the dry season, when our people would actually require the water. As far as the monsoons are concerned, maybe we'll have to, like Nitya has said, that we will have to construct dams. But in my opinion, I mean, I'm a layman, I'm not an expert on dams, etc. But purely going by my interaction with various people who are experts in this kind of construction of engineering construction, they feel that if India builds a series of smaller dams, we will be much more benefiting from that. Reasons: a big dam will again kind of need a lot of water to then let it down. Smaller dams, if number of them, even if an odd dam gets blown off by the release of water, we still have certain dams down the stream to actually regulate the flow of water and thereby prevent flooding which might take place during the monsoon. So there are whole lot of actions which we need to take. What exactly we will finally take, these are all in the planning stages. I think a number of government officials have also mentioned about it, that we are also going to construct dams along the Sangpo River. Plus, if you go south of Brahmaputra, there are a lot of hills which are now between Arunachal, Assam, and down south in the northeastern area, whose water comes into the catchment area of Brahmaputra. Those can be then, organized and channelized in a manner, create some dams so that we don't feel the heat of the water availability. Yes, there would be problems for Bangladesh, and that is something which Bangladesh will have to decide for itself, because Bangladesh has decided not to cooperate with India, least realizing that it is better for India and Bangladesh to be together in this, to kind of counter the Chinese. They have written a letter to China, I mean, raising their concern about this particular dam, but the Chinese have not responded. And why will they respond? They have a military power which is far superior to the Bangladeshi. So how does it make a difference to them? They will give them some money, some benefits here and there, and make them quiet. Whether their population suffers or not, they are not really concerned with. As far as India is concerned, India is not a pushover, right? So if India is not a pushover, we will find our ways and means and solutions through engineering, through environmental scientists, through our state government and central government cooperation. Luckily, we are lucky on that count that the central and the state government both are on the same page. I was listening to Pema Khandu just yesterday on YouTube, and he described this particular project as a water bomb. And if the state is concerned about it, I am sure the center will also be highly concerned, and people will support this particular initiative. Nobody would like to be without any kind of a livelihood. I would request Professor Nitya, if you could, show with your presentation the exact, dam, and possibly where this dam is going to come. What are the options for them pictorially? Because then our audience will be able to understand it better in terms
Right.
of in terms of appreciating what
Yeah.
exactly is going to be. After that, what I will do, Ashu, is that I will compare the Mekong Three Gorges and the Great Bend Dam, all three together, and their implications for India. So I would now request Professor Nitya to
Ashu,
kindly look into kindly show his
sure, sure.
presentation then the people will get a.
Project a presentation which is uploaded.
I don't know, that is mine. I think you have a presentation down
Yeah, I
below.
have uploaded
Yeah.
there. Yes. So
That's right.
before I take this, I would like to put out a couple of things. The 3 points based on what you have said. One is I didn't see this as a reaction to what is happening with IWT. One. Second is this is a challenge to, there is definitely a challenge to transport the electricity to different parts of China. But I think they are working out solutions on that. We need to look at the larger nexus between the renewable energy tapping and the electricity grids which they have developed there. That is the second thing. This they claim it as part of the 2060 net neutrality, carbon net neutrality targets, that they are trying to manage this clean energy to support their initiatives. So we need to look at it larger. And of course, Arunachal Pradesh works really close with the government. They've shown interest to work with the union government. In that case, it really helps. But we need to see all the possibilities, engineering and the migration of people or the resources if required. So I'll now dive into the slides. Regarding this, the location of this, people can see this map. It turns out in a particular area. That's where the greater U-bend exists. So these things are taken from the Takshashila Geospatial Bulletin, which I write on a periodic basis. The 5 burning questions which I could sense is like, are they really capable? Are they really expecting something like 60,000 megawatt in an area where the water does not come throughout the year? And then is the catchment lies in India? Why should we care about it? And is there any construction work that has begun? I'll try to answer the first 4 at least here. So this is a place where the Medang County exists, the development of Medang County exists. This is very close to India, let's say 25 to 30 kilometers from the international borders. Over here, this is completely on the downstream. If it is a reservoir, a big reservoir kind of thing, we can expect something here. But then this project is, considered as a run-of-a-river project. In that case, the possibility of having a dam at a downstream area where you can only collect water is not going to happen, because they're trying to leverage the slope. In that, it should happen little up, right? So the upper part is somewhere close to the U-bend. You can see here that this is an area either somewhere in this stretch, or it could be earlier than this. This is what we are looking at right now. And before we get into where it will come, we also need to understand the climatic zones exist within the Tibet Autonomous Region. And if you look at it, there are only 2 colors. The colors are indicative of different climatic zones exist. There's only 2 colors where it's mostly you'll get very good rainfall, precipitation here. But then the river is looking at different kind of water sources along its channels, right from the beginning. Somewhere it is rain-fed, somewhere it is glacier melting, somewhere it is from spring. So the sources are varying. And it is not getting as much as precipitation what we are getting in this particular basin. This is basically this is a spot after that the river is taking its natural course through the deepest canyon. You can see it in 3 dimensions. If you see it, this would be better. So you can see the kind of topography where we are and where the mainstream exists. It's more like a roof, right? So you have this much of elevation difference, and this comes all along this, and then it comes here. So the generation capacity is largely driven by this elevation variation, right? So that is what keeping any dams. So constructing anything after this, just look at the topography here. Constructing anything in Arunachal Pradesh, looking at the topography, it falls further steeper and steeper. So that is challenging. It is not a regular terrain. One can build as many as check dams they want. But then we need to do a very detailed surveying on ground, possibly using lidars, and then very high understanding of the ground can only able to find out the possible areas to minimize the impact. So once it has reached a spot, thereafter it's a plain, right? So as General has said rightly, Bangladesh will suffer a lot because you are further downstream, and they definitely need to work with and India as a midstream nation are putting up concerns together. Without that, it will be a problem for the downstream. But then we are also aware Bangladesh is not going to blame China in this case. Bangladesh is going to blame India for their, different other dams which are already exist. That's an easy way to blame. We are immediate upstreams. But then we are not the concerned person for that. The causative factor comes from the primary upstream country, right? That is something we can expect, but then the solution is like working together and then get it fixed. Okay, now I'll take you through a couple of other slides. So this is the deepest canyon, this portion, and we get the maximum rainfall. What you have seen is the basin boundaries that is colored. So the Siang is over here. So the dam which India is trying to build is on this upper Siang, right? And then many proposals are to construct dams in many parts of Siang to minimize the toll. Now, the mapping is something where we need to take out the cognizance of all the other aspects associated, maybe the location of villages, towns, and infrastructures. All those things are required. Now, so these are an examples of watershed, like where the larger collection. This is a bigger watershed. This is not micro watersheds. So tapping out what General Dushyant said, like tapping out at places where we can, is things we need to look at, like how we can minimize it, especially here. Right, this is coming very close here, and then there are certain areas where it further contributes to the same Yarlung Tsangpo. Instead, we can find out something and then make an alternatives. This is an example I've put out in the Geospatial bulletin to see where we can divert. Right, diverting anywhere until there is a river which is naturally course, though the flow is lower, a diversion may be feasible. But then here we have seen many of them are right, and we could see something is happening here. The possibility of diverting perhaps by rejuvenating some of the streams, which can push it to subsequent rivers, but not to this side of the Tibet, not to flow towards the western part of the river. That is really challenging. I don't think they would be attempting to do it, and it will not flow beyond the Tibet Autonomous. It will anywhere be here because the topography, as is shown, it's much higher. And further, you have long, low-lying areas in this case. You can't move it from here to, the other side in a reverse way, unless there is a specific river system which dried and specific topography which helps them to get it. I doubt that exists naturally, right? The challenges are here. Like before this earthquake, which we had, which we have noted in the end of the year, and subsequently in the beginning of the year in this area, Shigatse, Dingri, and other places. Before that, also we looked at the landslide. The landslide susceptibility map indicates the area after the Band, especially the Arunachal area, is more prone to the landslides. Whereas their mainstream, the rivers, when it flows through Tibet Autonomous Region, though over there is not much of challenges for the landslide when it comes to landslide. But this earthquake in the end of December and then beginning of January has indicated that landslide is not an issue, but earthquake is a more prone issue. And then we could see that how there's a behavior of multiple reservoirs which are placed during the earthquake. That also we looked at in the Geospatial bulletin. When they released water, when there was an earthquake, the waters were released. So the rivers were, the reservoir was emptied. So in that case, if anything comes in these areas, because since it is already on the fault line, so the earthquake happens almost every time. We could see the cluster on its way, and then we could see some of the earthquakes which are recorded right at those points. If the dam is fragile, and the water will be released, right? Citing a natural disaster as a reason. So that's another scenario. Answering the question of what has actually changed. So minor changes are happening all along the river, being just by, putting out people there instead of having a deep forest. Now you can see a couple of settlements are coming up in different parts of it. The land use map indicates so. It's not just settlements, it's not just things. The roads are also constructed. There's detailed road maps which we put out earlier, the Geospatial bulletin one of article. You can look at it. The roads are coming up, highways are coming up. So what is required for constructing a dam? So you need people, you need infrastructure to bring resources. And I think that is again, looking at now the real answer for this, whether it is those roads are built for constructing a dam or it is constructed for any purpose, or it is for the regional development, that is something we have to wait and watch. Because at this stage, there is a road, there are developments, that's all we can say. There are few more slides. This is about the developments in, why China require a new dam here, right? So this part of China, it was not tapped. Like there are a little more map on this side in my main article. This is not tapped. So the energy over here is tapped. It was not tapped before. The reason for that, it's quite costly to transport it also. And to leverage, even if it is a renewable energy, to leverage it for other areas are very difficult. But I think they are overcoming certain challenges, especially what we have seen with solar energy, generation. They've overcome their classical challenges, and then trying to build more and bigger plants. Almost 50 to 60 megawatts of plants are coming up in every part. Earlier it was 10, 20 megawatts of plants to start with. Precipitation, we know we're getting more rain here. There is no question of we are getting less water in the previous streams. But the point is, it's about a collection of water all these areas. And the second thing is, even a small quantum of water can disrupt the larger flow and disrupt the ecosystem. That is what I'm trying to say. Not worried about the possibility of restricting flow in India, the quantum of water that we receive. That may not get affected much, but then the ecosystem of the natural river flow may get affected. So this is one more which looked at the river system, how it flows. I'll quickly move on to this diagram. What we have seen in this basin particularly, this is again available in the Geospatial Bulletin, Takshashila Geospatial Bulletin. What we are seeing here is like the river system, the readings on these river systems are erratic in recent days. What does it say? Is it is not following with the traditional pattern of observation over several years. Whereas if you look at something on satellite, the one thing which has happened is there is a decline in water. But here there is no decline in water because the water has to be released. You can't control it, right? But then there are this skewness indicates perhaps the dams are constructed, smaller dams, stick dams, smaller control is happening in this previous length, not at a fag end, right? We are yet to see the big dam. It is already happening. That's why we could see this skewness. It is not possibly due to climate change. This is possibly due to what's actually, being controlled. That shows something erratic in last few years comparing the previous monsoonal trends. We can see a monsoonal trend. There is a clear pattern based on the months, but this follows the recent data follows the pattern. But here it is not following in the Brahmaputra. That's Yarlung Tsangpo. So the important aspect over here, when we look at anything, be it before the U-bend or after the U-bend, let's look at the dots. We are in the lower slope and lower elevation area. So whatever is being done at higher elevation and higher slope generally creates a problem. And we could see some bigger dots are there. This is a diagram where we put out, you could see this corner, which is having higher slope and higher elevation, that you could see it here. Those are the areas where things are happening. And there are some opportunities here. Probably as General Dushyant has said, there are some opportunities to course correct the flows and things which likely falling very close. You could see there are points very closely falling to India's international boundary. So that's there. And the last thing is about what happens in in Mekong and in Three Gorges dams. As I said, what the behavior of China and downstream. This is about the Three Gorges dam, what we looked at through the gravity, and looked at a big dam with capacity to store water. Like I said, it will impact the rotation of the earth also. But then what we are seeing here, it can also impact create changes in the gravity. It impacts the walls, the reservoir. So this is in an area which is much different than what we are expecting in Mekong. However, this indicates that the risks are more compared to this Three Gorges Dam, because that is more inland and this is more on international border. Any mishaps happen over there, which can impact the downstream China also. But here, the impact is only on the downstream nation. The downstream nations, largely India, and maybe a disruption or the quality of flow to Bangladesh. So that's all on my slide. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So basically, in simple terms, just to explain to our viewers, Dr. Nithiyanand has made 3-4 big points. One, he says that the location of the dam is most likely in the deepest parts of the area. That is the canyons which are the deepest, and I think one of the canyon is very deep, which is on the other side of the U bend. So most likely, or just on the where the river is about to take a bend. The other thing is that you let the water enter from the north of the U bend and take it down through a tunnel or whatever way you want to call it on the southern side of the U bend. So you get more speed of the water which will rush down. So therefore, probably, and you can have a number of these outlets going out so that you have more quantity of electricity being generated. But all that needs to be scientifically studied. We at this stage cannot say whether this will be feasible or not, especially given the fact that the terrain is very fragile, and will is there a technology to actually drill through in such an area? That also we need to look at it. Although most likely people are saying that this is the way it is going to be, drilling from the north to the south and then creating the hydroelectric power. Then transportation also, he mentioned that probably they are working on it, and maybe they will have some method, and it's more about the renewable energy which they want to transport. The reason being that they want to achieve the net zero by 2060, which is the deadline which they have given, which the COPE world has given, whereas India is expecting a 2070 deadline, because we realize that we just can't ride roughshod in environment. So environment has to be taken on board before we carry out any kind of environmental tapping of hydroelectric power. And the last thing which he said is that the difference between Three Gorges and this is that, Three Gorges, the lower riparian area is all within China, so they are slightly more careful. Despite being careful, you've seen when the Yangtze Three Gorges river, which is built on Yangtze, when it goes into floods, it literally washes out the entire lower areas of the dam. People have to use boats, etc., to move even in the cities. About 4 years back, 3 years back, if I'm not wrong, there was a huge flood which had taken place on that particular Yangtze River. Imagine, in our case, they will be least bothered, because the people who will be affected would be India. So we will have a situation like the Mekong, guys. So all the nations which are in the downstream, they got affected and they're still getting affected. People have been rendered homeless, etc. So these were the big points. What I will do is I'll quickly try to explain, and then we can take on some questions. The non-technical aspects of the the particular dams and its implications. So if we look at it, uh, how do you go ahead? How do you go forward? Yeah. So I have done a comparison of the three major dams. Brahmaputra Dam, the Moto Dam, which has been projected to be constructed by 2030 in the Great Bend area, Mekong Project Dams, and the Three Gorges Dam. If you look at the river is Yarlung Tsangpo, later on becomes the Brahmaputra. Mekong, it is Mekong and Langkang, and in the case of Three Gorges, it is Yangtze. Location, Tibet near Indian border. China, it is up as far as Mekong is concerned, it is within China. So entire impact is going to be within the Chinese territory. So therefore, they would be more careful about it. And as far as Three Gorges, sorry, my mistake. The downstream countries are equally affected by it. As far as Three Gorges is concerned, it is in the central China. So China is the most concerned as far as why the Three Gorges Dam is concerned. Capacity wise, it is going to be 3 times, which has already been highlighted. And as far as Mekong, it varies. And Three Gorges is around 22,500. So you can imagine 22,500 into 3. That takes you nearly to almost 66,000 or 67,000 megawatts. So therefore, main purpose is hydropower, strategic leverage as far as U-bend is concerned. Same is the case with hydropower and economic development as far as Mekong, and hydropower and flood control as far as Three Gorges is concerned. I don't know how much of a flood control they are able to do, because every year now they are suffering in that particular. In fact, there is a movement not to construct big dams. I don't know why the Chinese are so in love with big dams. Big dams are actually the most important killers of environment, and they are going to do the same thing as far as we are concerned with the Brahmaputra. Regional impact: India and Bangladesh. In Mekong, it is Southeast Asian countries: Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. Poor countries. I really pity them. To some extent, even Myanmar. China, as far as three gorges, it is China themselves. Then environmental effects, huge environmental effects. Whether it is Brahmaputra, whether it is Mekong, or whether it is the three gorges. Displacement relatively less as far as we are concerned, as far as the Chinese are concerned. In our case, we will probably face displacements, and that is what is concerning. And I mentioned about this, the Adi tribe is the one which probably will get affected by this particular dam. As far as Mekong is concerned, there has been a severe for communities along the Mekong, severe. And I feel it is too early for us to judge how much will be the severity as far as we are concerned in the U-Bend Dam. And three gorges, look at the figures: 1.13 to 1.4 million displaced, yet they are not learning their lessons. I don't know what is in their mind. The key details, of course: largest dam, this has already been covered, I won't repeat it. Capacity is going to be 300 billion kilowatt per year. Image, he is briefed enough, but just as a photo image, I thought this will look very clear for the viewers, that this is how the river actually takes a bend, and see the quantum of water which is there. On the map, if you see, this will give you a much better perspective for layman, whereas Dr. Nitya had showed you the satellite images. On for a layman, this is something which really will tell you where this particular Medong county is, and where is the particular dam, Great U Bend, which is written right on top. And then I have deliberately not written China, it is Tibet. And I think we should make it a point to say that the dam is being made in Tibet and not in China. China is not part of our border as far as we are concerned. Siang River is the one which will get affected in our case. And I have seen this area personally, Tooting area. The slope is very severe. The drop in contours is so severe that you can imagine the way the water will flow, and that is why people are talking about probably a drilling towards the southern side will give them that much more power generation. Then finally, implications: environmental, I've said. Water security, livelihood is something which is very serious. Water availability, geopolitical and strategic concerns, I have highlighted about this. Transboundary tensions are likely to be taking place. Strategic vulnerability: control over the water flow by an upstream state can be a significant strategic vulnerability for India, and they are going to target India. Let me just tell you, despite all their thaw, despite all the thaw in the relation between the two countries, we should assume that China is our adversary. They are not going to just let this kind of a incident go unleveraged as far as security is concerned. Socio-economic and cultural consequences are huge on the local community. If they get displaced, they get uprooted from their base, and they lose that much of local culture. Thought people will migrate down to other parts of India for livelihood. So therefore, we lose the local culture of Arunachal Pradesh. That is a serious concern for us. India and Bangladesh responses, I have already highlighted. Bangladesh has to realize that in it we are together. If they try to go alone, I am sure nothing can help them, because in between is India. It may be better to fight together. And in bargain, India has always respected its neighbors. It has always honored their commitment for the neighbors. We have never ever discriminated against our neighbors, and especially Bangladesh, whom we actually took so much of pain, lost so many lives to liberate them. And how can they think of India? Look at Sri Lanka. It was India which revived. Look at Maldives. It was India which revived them after the crisis. And now you have the Prime Minister probably visiting Maldives. So therefore, I think overall we are a much more reliable and a trustworthy neighbor than China. Earlier, our neighbors understand, the better it will be for them. Nepal is understanding after a while. So with this, I'll end my presentation just to give an overview of what is happening around us. In the west, we have the CPEC. In the east, we have the CMEC, and then you have the Brahmaputra coming in. The U-Bend Dam coming in between. There is a concerted effort by our adversary, which is the northern adversary, which now I feel that China and Pakistan are a fused entity. There is no more double front or two front, whatever you were calling it. They are in it together. They will support each other's move. Like for example, in IWT, the Chinese were dead against it. I mean, they have been taking out videos, they have been taking out statements which are actually calling on India to respect the treaty agreements, whereas we are respecting the treaty agreement. It's a goodwill agreement. Let's be very clear as far as IWT is concerned. It's a goodwill agreement that provided we maintain good relationship, that this particular treaty will go ahead. So India will also stand its ground, and maybe we need to initially try all the measures which are available in the non-kinetic manner, and then think of the last resort. If they're not going to listen, then every nation has a right to defend itself. So I think with that I will end, and if Dr. Nitya wants to add anything more to it, or counter any point or correct any point which I have given.
I'm not countering, but I'll add one point to it when it comes to the downstream responsibility. As you rightly pointed out, some of the rivers flows larger area in China. They have promised in the beginning of that river, the document literature says the environment was promised, the environmental concerns are promised, the rights of culture of different people living in the downstream where it was said like it will be protected and things were promised. But then when it comes to government projects, there is no environmental concern exist, and then nothing was followed at the end. And to answer another part, why the craziness exists on the bigger dams, I think bigger dams gives bigger money, bigger contracts, people, and that is again another possible motivation people now to build bigger dams. And then the question of why here is an important thing. There could be, they probably can build more and more of, renewable energies in different forms. Not just if they're really concerned about the neighbors and things, this dam would have, not come here. Ideally, we should not expect the dam here. The ideal thing is let's not have a dam there, whether it is a possible impacting or not. The dam should not be there on the first place. But then, since the guy is adamant on the upstream, the indication of possible utilization is very clear. The intent is very clear. So in that case, the opportunities are with us to find out another engineering marvel on our side to counter it. Not necessarily a dam, multiple effects. And then, as you rightly said, it's not one problem, it is a nexus of problem that we try to cover it in our articles also. Thank you so much for having me here today.
So just
we
take
have
some
a-
questions.
Yes, sir. The first question is: what weapons, levers must a lower riparian state have in its arsenal to prevent these threats? We may be able to stop excess water with another dam, but tectonic movements are inevitable.
Okay. In my opinion, the levers for us would be a counter lever, in the sense that where we can upset his apple cart, we should try doing that. Unfortunately, we are on this side of the Himalayas, and on their side it is all plains, right? But our Tibetan plateau is a plain. It is also called the roof of the water roof of the world. In fact, the maximum storage of water is on the Tibetan plateau. So they are sitting on a resource, not only water but minerals as well, which is so lucrative that we are as of now short of any counter levers. We have to be more in the preventive mode. For counter, we have the kinetic options, and the kinetic options uh, could be without, I mean, being very very specific here, because that would go into a security domain. suffice it to say that the counters would be more in the kinetic domain. That should be good enough for you. But for that, the provocation has to be really very, very high. And you know the Chinese, they work in the gray zone so beautifully that they will just stop short of doing things. Look at what they did in Dokram, look at what they did in Galwan. If they present an opportunity like that, then I think we will have the counters.
So the second question is, what is the geopolitical impact of such a dam for India?
I think we had covered this question quite well as far as geopolitics is concerned. I had answered it in detail. Geopolitically, look, what is happening is that there is a collusion which is taking place, whether it is China Pakistan or whether it is China Myanmar. Whether China Myanmar will cooperate or not, that's a question, because Myanmar itself is undergoing its own problems and pangs, etc. But the Chinese have a kind of an influence in that country to work with anyone and everyone. So they can work with militant groups, they can work with the government. So they got their hands in every organization of Myanmar. So overall, I think they would be influencing our neighbors, including Nepal and Bhutan, to ensure that we are isolated. That would be one of the major impacts, and which we need to thwart. So our countermeasures would be getting on board Nepal, getting on board Bhutan, getting on board Myanmar, and then creating a voice which isolates China rather than China trying to isolate us. If we do that kind of a geopolitical movement, then the Chinese will be definitely under the pressure, right? Internationally as well as regionally. Anything you want to add, Nitya?
No,
Anything you want to
it's
add,
fine, sir.
Nitya?
Perfectly answered. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know China has love for big infrastructure projects. Corruption is an integral part of the government. Everyone has had to do deep down corruption there. Being a occupier state in Tibet, China will exploit it as much as they can, and that is about to continue. That being an authoritarian state, they didn't care about their people while they were building the Three Gorges Dam. Now they will have the least of concern for lower riparian states. So I'll end with this note. Thank you, Dr. Nithiyanandam.
Yeah, I would like to add here that we are not out of options. You see, we are not out of options. I am just not covering those options purely from a security perspective. We have non-kinetic options and kinetic options both. We will put that into effect through subtle moves. I think if the government is going to take note of these kind of movements, you see, we have certain elements of Tibet with us. We have certain elements of Myanmar with us. So we can do influence the Chinese and try to contain them, right? We have already started doing it. I think if you're following the series of events and activities, Kiran Rijiju going to Dharamshala, Myanmar, there were some strikes which took place, not one but thrice. So these are things which we will continue to do to ensure that the Chinese are also put put at some kind of a check.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both of you for joining us today. Thank you.
Jai Hind.